This video, we're going to have a quick look at how you get the information you need to complete your T4A slips that should be sent to CRA by the end of February every year. Now, before you start, you need to have a very good understanding of what you need to be reporting on your T4A slips. Now, as you can see here, there's a number of possible types of things you could be reporting. I'm going to assume that you are a regular small business, not a bank or a financial institution, and you're going to be concerned with box 48, which is this fees or other amounts for services. Now, there's no real definition of what to include or who to include here. There are some examples of what not to include, and that includes payments made by government departments, also subcontract like construction contractors. So they're actually covered by a different but similar slip, the T5018. It does say here that you don't pay non-residents for interest, dividend, etc., but it doesn't make any reference here of business income, like subcontractor type services. So it's fairly ambiguous as to what to include. So I'll tell you what we do in our practice. And again, this is just a guideline. You'll have to discuss this and make your own decisions. But our recommendation to our clients is that you should issue a T4A slip to anyone, individual or business, resident in Canada that has provided a service that is not a good or subscription. So what would you include in this? Well, you'd include any contractors and consultants that you've hired, any business coaches that are inside Canada, even your accountant technically qualifies under this definition. Officially, it doesn't matter whether they are a GST or HST registered. So everybody that provides a service to you should receive a T4A slip. Now, you wouldn't include employees because they're going to receive a T4 slip. So if they're covered by another reporting mechanism, you can generally consider them to be excluded. Now, one thing you want to note here when we're looking at box 48, fees for services, is that we do not include the GST, HST, and I would assume here even the PST components of anything you are charged. We're looking for what is effectively their gross revenue, excluding taxes. And I will just point out here that at the date of recording, CRA does say that they aren't assessing penalties if you fail to remit a T4A slip. Our advice to clients is do your best. And when you file them, if you've made a mistake, don't sweat it. Okay, so let's have a look. We'll jump into Xero and see how can we get this information. So there's two main ways to organize your data in Xero. One is by expense code and the other is by contact. And you might even want to think about a little bit of a hybrid of these two, which we'll see at the end. But let's focus on the expense code method first, because it's probably the one most likely to help you. So we're going to go to our accounting reports. And we're going to find the report called Account Transactions. Now, you'll notice there is an old version as well as a detailed account transactions report. Don't recommend those for this purpose. You want the newer account transactions report. So we're going to bring that up. Next, we're going to set all of our search fields. Now, this is the most important part here. Which accounts are the transactions likely to be in that you need to report on? So as you scan through your expense categories, you want to be thinking, well, which account codes have I been coding transactions to that would qualify for a T4A slip? So for example, advertising. If you're having advertising consultants coded to this code, maybe cleaners, consulting and accounting, very definitely. And as you scan through, maybe there's something in general expenses. Okay, you're scanning through here and you're thinking, what else might I have in these expenses that I would need to register as a fee for a service? And again, as I said, it's more like a personal service. I wouldn't worry about your telephone bill, all those kinds of things. I mean, even though technically it's a service, I wouldn't personally include those. So you go through it and you choose the accounts that they apply to. Now you select a date range. So it's always going to be 1st of January to 31st December of each year. Because you always do T4A slips on a calendar year basis, regardless of your financial year. Next, which account codes do you want to display? So I recommend switching off the debit and the credits, as well as the running balance and the tax. They're not going to be relevant to you in any way here. Next, group by what? We actually want to group by none. No filters. I'm going to click update. Now, what this is going to give you is a list of transactions. Unfortunately, there's no way to filter this list by contact. What you can do is sort on the description field here, and now you've got the whole list sorted alphabetically. And so now you can add up all the different items. So as we look at this list here, I can see that MCO cleaning services, that's probably a reportable event. Now it's under $500, so you might decide you don't want to bother. But Smart Agency definitely would qualify. But 0 monthly subscription, that's been coded to my accounting code. I wouldn't be worried about those two. So here in particular, I'd be looking at least Smart Agency and possibly MCO cleaning services. Now, what I recommend you do at this point is actually export it to Excel, where now you've got a permanent record of it, and you can delete rows and add additional comments, etc., to get the information that you need. Now, once you've got this list, let's say we know we want to do a T4A slip for Smart Agency. We can open up Smart Agency's contact record here. And in their contact record, they may have additional information. If we go edit the contact record, we'll see all the details. They may have additional information, and which might include their business number in the tax code field. Now, you are going to need their address and their business or GST number. Okay, so maybe you have that recorded down here, but you are going to need that information in order to file the T4A slip. So now that you know who you're going to be including, now you need to make sure you get their information. You'll probably find that on a copy of their invoice, by the way. If they're GST registered, they will have their business number, which will be the first 9 digits. And so that information you're going to need to collect and include in your T4A summary document. Now, in terms of the information we want for our T4A, obviously, if we look at our T4A slip guidance with CRA, it's going to tell you all the information that you need, their name and address, your details. You need either their social insurance number or their program account number, which is usually going to be their RC, their income tax account number. But if you have their RT, which is their sales tax number, that's just as good. They should all be in the same business number grouping. Okay, so you're going to need all that information, and then you're going to need to total all of the amounts for these for this company. So if we had more than one invoice for Smart Agency, we would add them all up. Remember, we're excluding the GST or HST sales tax amounts, and you want to add them all up, and then it's that total you are going to report in box 48 on the T4A summaries. Now, I said there are 2 ways to get it, so I've just shown you the transaction account method. There is another method based on contacts. Now, this for most people is going to be a little more messy, but let's go and have a quick look of what we would do here. We're going to go to our contact section. And the first thing we want to do here is we actually want to create a contact group. So we're going to create a group, and we're going to call this group T4A. And if you're in construction, you might want to create a group for T5018 as well. So next, we're going to decide which of our contacts qualify for issuing T4As. So I'm going to check the box beside anyone here that I think is going to qualify. So it's not under customers. We want our groups. We want to look at suppliers. It's always suppliers. Okay, so we're going to look through this list, and we're going to say, well, which of our suppliers do we need to be thinking about issuing T4As for? Okay, so have a quick look through these. We'll say, just for argument's sake, we'll throw a couple in here. Okay, so these are the ones that we know that we would need to issue a T4A slip to. So we've selected them. Now we're going to go add to group. I'm going to choose T4A. We even add the new group right here if we want to. And now we can click add. So now we've got a group for T4A issuers, or people we need to issue a T4A to, T4A recipients. Next, we're going to go back to our reporting tab. And in reports, we're going to search for the contact transactions summary report. Again, income and expense, sorry, my mistake. We're looking at the income and expenses by contact report. There is an older expenses by contact report. Again, not quite so useful for these purposes, but we're going to go to income and expenses by contact. Now, again, we're going to set up all of our searching criteria. As far as columns, really, we just need contact and type. We don't want to compare with any periods. We want group by none. And here we're going to set a filter where the contact group equals T4A. We also might want actually to add a filter where the type is expense. And click update. And so now that's going to give us a list of all the transactions totaled for each of these particular suppliers. So we have MCO cleaning and we have Smart Agency. And if we open up Smart Agency here in another tab, it's going to show us the details. And we've got one invoice totaling 1847, which is the pre-GST amount available for that contact. Now, what this doesn't do is give you the detail as to which expense category it's in, which is, again, a real shame. We know it's an expense, we just don't know what the expense category is. And so if you've got contacts where maybe they get reimbursed, where that's actually not a service that you have to report, you want to exclude those numbers, then this method wouldn't be ideal for you. But if you know that everything that you pay a particular contacts needs to be reported, then you would this method might be faster, because now we can tag our contacts in one spot. We don't have to worry about choosing account codes. And now we get a list of just those totals for those contacts. Again, I recommend you export this to Excel or Google Sheets. Then you're going to combine it with your name, address, reporting ID number, business number, what have you, and then you can create your T4A slips. And this is the number that goes into box 48. Okay, hope that helps.